You see who's been in the Johnson City Mayor's office over the years. It's been, quite a mix of people there. I've always seen, anyway, you know what I think right there. So there, you've got quite a legacy that you're living with here. Let's have some sports. Yes.
Some pretty awesome folks.
Oh.
I'm very lucky and blessed.
Well, I remember Vance Cheeks Jr. wearing his '69 Cubs cap, so you're on a sports talk show, and so we'll be continuing that spirit with Buffalo Valley questions and Freedom Hall. So let's do this here. Okay, coming on right now. David Tomita is the mayor of Johnson City, Tennessee, which right now is something at a crossroads culturally because they're looking at a $400,000 offer from the town of Unicoi to buy the now not operating Buffalo Valley Golf Course, and also some questions about what to do with Freedom Hall, the leading sports arena in the city. It's a pleasure to talk to you, David Tomita, and I guess to begin with, what is the latest on the offer to buy Buffalo Valley Golf Course? Do you think that the city is going to accept the lowball offer of $400,000 from Unicoi?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Good to be here today. We appreciate the interest and we appreciate the offer. Certainly see it as interest and the beginning of the conversation. We had sent out an RFP. They were the only respondent to that RFP, and we really hadn't done anything as far as trying to determine what a fair market value for the property is. So we are in the midst of doing that. So we haven't just accepted or declined. And again, we want to appreciate them for their interest, and hopefully that could be the beginning of the top of the conversation as we gather some more information.
Do you have any druthers or yourself over whether or not the property stays a golf course or is renovated into something else? For instance, athletic fields that have been proposed.
Sure. I mean, I certainly don't want to be insensitive to the residents out there, and I hope that we find a way to find a buyer that will continue to operate it as a golf course. It's a beautiful golf course, and a lot of people enjoy playing it, and I do feel for the residents around it. Although, as a city commission, we have no obligation to the taxpayers of Unicoi. That's their elected officials that are tasked with doing that. So we have to walk a fine line while being sensitive to their needs. That responsibility certainly lies ultimately with Unicoi.
Well, the next question I want to ask you is what's going on with Freedom Hall. I know that there was some talk about basically having another company, maybe from Philadelphia, maybe from Los Angeles, running the facility. On the other hand, you've put, $15 million over the last several years into the roof at Freedom Hall. What's the future right now? Is the city going to continue to operate Freedom Hall?
Well, Freedom Hall will continue to be operated. There's no doubt. It will be owned by the city of Johnson City. The investment went into the entire facility, not just the roof. And if you haven't been into there recently, you should, because it's changed a lot. And it's a great place to watch basketball or other events. We've talked about the expense of operating that over the years, at least while I've been on the commission, and talked from time to time about turning the management of that facility over to a private organization that had a profit motive. Quite frankly, governments do things very well, and other things they don't do maybe as efficiently as somebody with a profit motive. So we're looking at letting a group come in and try to extract some revenue out of there through concessions and naming rights and sponsorships. And we haven't made a decision yet, but we certainly we saw the two presentations from both firms. Both were very, very impressive firms. Each one had a little bit different offerings, and we're kind of sorting through that right now. Not in any particular hurry to make a decision, but we'll likely make a decision as we enter into budget talks. And that's not a knock on the current management. They've done a good job with what they've had to keep that facility in use. And ETSU basketball has really brought a whole new level of excitement.
Well, certainly it has, although it's something of a controversial move. You mentioned the sight lines. Yeah, they're much better than what would happen at the Mini Dome. On the other hand, it's off campus. It's in a residential area where there's not a whole lot around. And there was always the feeling, I mean, David Tomita, mayor of Johnson City, I go back to the 90s when there was a feeling of maybe even some subservience to Science Hill High School by ETSU, certainly the basketball program in the mid-90s, and playing at Freedom Hall doesn't exactly, relinquish that feeling and such. So this is my question that I want to ask you. Over the years, I mean, having ETSU play there, that has given the facility a lot of events that it didn't have before. I know you got the Globetrotters coming in next month. I think there are 3 events there. But the summertime, usually there haven't been a lot of events. And, the concerts haven't been what they used to be in terms of the proclivity. So is Freedom Hall a white elephant?
Oh, absolutely not.
Even without there are other arenas that have more events. You're aware of that.
Sure, and that's why we're looking at some other management scheduling options for that facility. I grew up, Science Hill played their basketball games at Freedom Hall. That building was built for basketball.
Back in the 70s.
To build that building today, that would cost us somewhere in the area of $60 or $70 million, and for $14 million, we get another 40 years out of that. If we program it right, if we get aggressive with it, we can put more events in there. The entertainment business has changed a lot since I was growing up. Anybody who is anybody. I saw any number of big name concerts there, but those folks don't travel like they used to. It's more expensive. And you gotta sell more tickets, and sometimes we don't hit that level. But there's an opportunity, which is again why we're looking at tasking a group with connections and to entertainment avenues that I think we may not have now. So that is probably the main reason. But that is a tremendous asset to the city, and I think it's a great building. We just need to tweak its use a little bit.
I understand what you're saying, and certainly the sight lines, and you mentioned the big concerts. I mean, I think AC/DC has played there like 5 or 6 times over the years. Elton John, not that long ago for that matter.
Sure.
But I guess one of my concerns, my criticisms, and I talk about this on the show, is that the floor space is never going to be big enough to, say, have a hockey team or an indoor football team. The seating capacity is, as you say, smaller than most big-name venues or acts want to have. And for the fact of the matter is, there's nothing around it. It's residential. It's people saying, get off my lawn. So, you mentioned another 40 years, David Tomita, mayor of Johnson City, but has there been any discussion about a new arena or anything like that that could have, the events that I speak of and be more of a multi-use facility for the entire region, if you will?
Well, Marky, our responsibility is not necessarily to the region as far as a venue, and that's a much larger conversation than we can have today. If you look at trying to find available property within close proximity to the to the center of Johnson City, it's just not there. I'm not sure where we put it.
Where do you think the center is?
Marky, that would cost somewhere in the area of $60 to $70 million. That'd be a tough sell right now in the budget that we're faced with now.
Where do you think the center is? Because, so much is talked about how over the years the city has moved from downtown to the north side, if you will.
Sure.
But where do you think the center of the city, in your opinion, David Tomita, is?
Well, the geographical center is downtown.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah. So, the population certainly has shifted out to North Johnson City, but honestly, anybody that's lived somewhere outside of Johnson City knows that larger towns, you've got to take 30 or 40 minutes to drive from one end to the other. It's 10 minutes to Freedom Hall from pretty much anywhere in Johnson City. Its physical location is about as good as we could do now with middle property. So I just couldn't see justice not in a if we build it, they will come situation. We've got to take the assets that we have.
I have 5 seconds left.
Those.
So I want to thank you.
Minidome is one of those.
I want to thank you for appearing on Tri-City Sports Now, David Tomita.
Thanks, Marky.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, I have another guest coming up to talk about the race, or else I would ask you to continue. But what do you say we stay in touch?
No. Absolutely, anytime. Have to talk about it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey, Monday mornings, consider career.